You're listening to The Dating Den with dating and relationship badass and best-selling author Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important dating, sex, and relationship issues you want to know about. So if you're ready for true talk that's authentic and unfiltered, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
The Dating Den, episode 45 with Dr. Diana Kirschner. Do you have an oi friend? Understanding how your brain and body get addicted to bad boys and what to do about it now. Ladies, welcome into my dating den. I am so happy to be here this morning in my gym clothes. Had a really good boxing session. Just had my kale smoothie because, you know, I live in LA, so that's what we do. And I'm all pumped up to talk to someone you are going to just love, psychologist Dr. Diana Kirschner. She is here in the den. And if you have not ever heard of her, you know, pull the rock off your head because she's been a reoccurring guest on the Today Show. So you might have seen her there. She's been on Oprah. And she actually starred in a PBS special on love. That was based on her book that's a huge bestseller, Love in 90 Days. Who doesn't want that? And what I'm super excited about for her, she's got a new book called Find Your Soulmate Online in 6 Simple Steps. And anyone who can simplify online dating into 6 simple steps is like a little angel that God has sent for all of us who are looking for that. She's helped thousands and thousands of successful women date and meet terrific partners to deepen relationships, because who wants just any old relationship, right? And create lasting love that is just right for them. She also has a dating tips and relationship advice newsletter. And we'll show you in the show notes how you can get in touch with her that way, as well as some other goodies. So, Dr. Diana, welcome to the Dating Den.
Oh my God, I love being in this dating den, and I had my kale also this morning, my kale drink.
I love that. So what else do you put? Let's just talk. What else do you put in your smoothie besides kale? Are you like spinach, cucumber? What's your thing?
Yeah, spinach, frozen banana, maybe a little almond butter.
I love it. I do cucumber. I do some spinach and some fruit, and I like it with a lot of ice. So I like it like smoothie-ish rather than juicy.
Yum, treats.
Exactly. So we're all both amped up on our green stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about this. So, you know, I think that women, you know, they're listening to me, they're listening to you, they're like Googling, they're like up in the middle of the night watching YouTube, they're like, what is the most important thing, right? And I think there's a lot of ways to get information. And what I really want to talk to you about, because you've been doing this a long ass time, is what do you think really is the most important thing, right? Like a successful woman, because a successful woman has her own kind of set of challenges. So if you were going to distill it down, what do you think is the most important thing a successful woman can do to actually create a lasting relationship that's full of passion and magic?
Well, I'll tell you, people become successful because they get the proper mentoring. You know, at work, you look for somebody who has the job you want. You look for someone who can, train you. And of course, then you get exactly, where you want to be. In love, it's really no different. And yet, we're all blinded by this kind of myth that, true love is supposed to happen. If it's meant to happen, it will just happen. It's a bunch of BS. The best thing you can do is get a mentor. Love is much more difficult than work. It's much more difficult to navigate and to really create something that's lasting and juicy and yummy and amazing, which it can be done, absolutely can be done, no matter what your age, because we've seen it time and time again in our Love Mentor program. But really, getting yourself a mentor. Now, the mentor has to be somebody who can see how amazing you are, who knows the road, who knows, the way to the ball.
Right. Right.
And, can be your own special fairy godmother. And I think that's key. A lot of successful women, they say, oh my God, I got it. I'm generally, they're often smarter than anybody else in the room,
Right.
And it's a problem. It's a problem. It's like, I should have this all figured out. Meanwhile, they have these terrible pains because they have these kind of embarrassing relationships sometimes,
Oh, yeah.
They're hung up on this guy who, I remember one case in the love mentoring program. The woman was hung up, very accomplished woman, very accomplished, but hung up on this guy who was a wannabe self-help author. And, and he was basically using her to, help with his projects, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and giving her crumbs, just giving crumbs. But that was like the secret shame. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
She was all together, out there in the world, looking perfect, looking amazing and sounding amazing. And there was this problem. But, what happened with that is she got herself a mentor, and the mentor said ixnay on the boyfriend bay.
Right? That's what's funny is that you just said, I love it. But the word oi was in there. And so that was really special to me, right? It's like he is an oi friend at that point. So yeah, but that's really actually an interesting point because literally every other person, right? This happens to our listeners all the time. The men that you choose is so out of alignment with who you are in the world. And all your friends are literally, they're like, Sabrina, oi. Like, I can't believe Sabrina is putting up with this shit. But we really like, but when and I used to, I was one of those girls way back when. And it's like, because we don't know how to do it. And because we usually do get everything we want, it really frustrates. And what you said is really important and super serious, which is that it creates all this shame. And that needs support and help to sort of be eradicated in addition to sort of ixnay him.
Exactly. In other words, you got to be able to look at it straight, not kind of hide it from yourself, but look at it straight, like, the high school teacher that I'm dating right now who teaches gym, he's not on my wavelength. He's not, you got to be able to be straight with yourself. And that's the first big step of actually having a mentor is you can actually see, come out in terms of what you're actually doing and really examine it and see it for what it is, which is usually it's part of their the wounded inner child who is holding on desperately to quite often there's a tactile piece, there's a sexual piece. But it's the wounded inner child that just is so hungry.
Yeah.
And so, they're having sex and it's amazing or whatever, but all the other stuff just doesn't actually connect to the grown-up self, much less what I call the diamond self identity. And, a lot of the work we do in love mentoring is about cultivating what I call the diamond self-identity, which is the sense of self that is created by you. We each can actually go ahead and create our own set of possibilities for who we are in the world and give ourselves a name even. And build on our own little cute little quirks and gifts and talents. And that is a really powerful way to get away from this kind of thing. Because once you're ensconced as the, beloved mighty Isis or the amazing,
Wonder Woman, because that's
Wonder
Woman,
yes. Wonder Woman, yes, or the, the vivacious vixen, the saucy minx, the goddess of irresistible radiance. It's you're not going to put up with that other stuff.
Right. No, absolutely. So let's talk about Well, I'm kind of going to go out of order here in my original plan, but I think this connects. So what is the single biggest mistake that women make? Like, is it being attracted to the oi friend? I'm going to call it that now, by the way.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like quite often leading with some kind of chemistry, and
Okay.
and then things get hot, and jumping into bed too soon, and feeling like this person's the one because they're different, and cutting off everybody else or any other possibility of finding other guys, and that leads to what I call a flame out, where the guy just disappears or just poofs into nothing.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because you have all this, you're all doctory and everything. Because I hear this all the time. It's like this thing that says we have the most amazing chemistry. I've never had chemistry. What's going on in the brain? Like, why is that chemistry, that physical thing, cause women to make so many missteps and misjudgments?
Well, the brain really is like becomes addicted, really physically addicted, and it starts with oxytocin. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is what's secreted when you have a baby, and you're looking at that baby, and you're going to bond with it and take care of it, and your heart sees only a perfection in that baby, only perfection. So, so it starts with oxytocin, and then there's a whole other cocktail of various drugs that the brain serves up that tend to tie you physically to the person as if they are a drug. So now oxytocin is released during sex. Oxytocin can be released when you're gazing into each other's eyes, believe it or not.
Wow.
Oxytocin can be released even just by touch, just you touching each other's arms. That's gluing you to the person. Now, you don't want to be glued to that person until you know who that person is.
Amen, sister.
Yeah. And if they're into you, we want them to be totally into you. B, if they're a kind of person who's willing to grow. And C, are they really meeting the basics in terms of your values and goals, in life? Those are the three criteria that we look at. But, so you want to keep yourself out of that flame out pot,
Okay.
the crucible.
Yeah.
And what we talk about is dating three people at the same time with no sex. You could have kissing and canoodling, but no sex.
Okay, this is a great question. I was actually really excited to ask you about this. I just was canoodling on Facebook, if you can canoodle on Facebook, and I saw one of these sponsored ad things, and I can't remember who it was, but it was this thing about like you have to, you need to date more than one man at a time, and then of course there was like a million comments, and women were like, that's not right. And then someone were like, I can barely, have time for one date. How could I do this? And if I date three guys, then I'm not giving 1 and 2 a chance. So you're the guru here. Tell me why that's your philosophy and why it works. And is it as hard as like some of these ladies we're talking about?
Well, first of all, we've seen this work for, over 10 years or more. And in thousands of cases, actually. But the thing is that you can see people within integrity. Women have a whole construction about loyalty. Oh my God, you have to have loyalty to the person. You can do this within integrity, and the way you do it within integrity is you say on the second date, hey, you say something true about liking the guy, if you like the guy, listen, Mark, I haven't laughed like this since I don't know when. I can't imagine liking anybody as much as you, but I have to let you know that I've decided to take things slow, and I'll be seeing, people casually for a while, but I can't imagine liking anybody as much as you. So that's a kind of sandwich of positives and takeaways that is actually irresistible to a successful man.
Why?
Why? Because you are tantalizing him by stroking him and saying how great he is. At the same time, you are not available. And successful guys like to work and earn things that are harder to get. And you are totally in integrity. You are totally in integrity. Second date, you do that. Then the other issue is, of course, women say, I can't even find one good guy to date, which is a whole other show for you and me. But
right. Yeah, absolutely.
But the truth is that you can find them. You can find them. You can find them online. You can find them offline in different activities. There are great guys. And the truth is there are guys coming on the market every day. Every day. There's divorce, right? There's widowing, people becoming widowers. They're coming on the market. There's men who are ready to actually finally settle down, and they haven't been before this. And yet women walk around in a vacuum. They'll say there are no good men to date.
I want to slap them, Dr. Diana. I want to slap them. I'm like, really? There's no good men to date. And here's the other thing is what you said is so true. There's like zillions of 50% of marriages end in divorce, right? And there's a lot of good guys who were good guys in that marriage, and there's a lot of reasons why it didn't work out. And so they're available. And if you would look I get on my little soapbox. If you put your damn phone away, you could look around and see all the men that don't wear rings that are single. Really, though, because really we get so attached, and we get so attached to that story, right? Of there's no good men. Yeah.
Yes, and you're proving it over and over and over again to yourself. You're proving it because you're looking at the half-empty glass. You know?
Absolutely. Okay, so there's great men everywhere. They're coming on the market. That's the thing. Men aren't real estate, right? So there's no man recession. Like, all the good ones, divorce got really expensive this year. They're just staying married. Condoms went on sale, so the players are going to do it for another 6 months right now. It's a bad time to get on the market. No, really, though, there's men everywhere. So three guys at the same time. You know what's funny is last night was my anniversary with my hubby, and he took me to dinner where we had a bunch of our first dates at this lovely hotel. And we were chatting because he's British, and in his culture, you don't date 3 people at a time. So he said, we were talking, on our third date or whatever, he was like, so, I really want to be your boyfriend. I really like you. And I was like, basically I said what you said, I'm loving spending time with you. I'm dating casually. I need to slow it down. And so last night he was like, when you said that, I was like, what? And then he was like, okay, well, then I'm going to work even harder to make sure that I'm right.
Yes.
And here we are 8 years later, right? And so I'm just here to say it totally, totally works. So how do you know? Because I get this question all the time, and I actually think that you probably have the right answer to it. So I want to hear what you have to say. How do you know, or when do you start to call them out? What's the vetting process? And is it okay to date someone just to kind of date them, even if you do like Mark more? I mean, is that in integrity? How do people wrap their head around that process of selection?
It's very interesting. The research is very clear on on the marrying kind of men, if that's what you want to do. You want to get married. The research is pretty clear that men who talk about marriage very positively or more positively rather than negatively are more the marrying kind. Also, men who come from an intact family, if his parents are not divorced, that's also another plus. Also, if there is some religious attendance, if there's some spiritual religious belief and attendance in a group, that's also actually a plus. That's some of the research. I mentioned before the 3 criteria that, in general we look for. One is this guy really crazy about you? Does he think you're, fantastic and amazing and unusually wonderful? And is he seeking you? Is he, really wanting to see you, reluctant to leave you? Number two is he willing to grow? There's no perfect partner, but if he's willing to grow, he could become perfect for you. And number three is, having the same values, the goals. He wants a family, he wants children. If you want children, that kind of thing. It's okay to keep somebody on your dance card because you're always in a process of discovery. When you're dating, you're in a process of discovery. So, initially, you may be a little turned off because, let's say, Joe has a little bit of an effeminate walk or the way he moves his hands, he's a little effeminate. You're a little turned off. But you keep him on your dance card because you're going to learn more and more and more about him. And he could be absolutely amazing, right?
Yes.
So you don't know. You're going to keep people on that 3-person dance card and learn. This is a discovery and learning process. You're learning about yourself and what you really want, and you're learning about each of the guys. Now, when you hit something, let's say that is a deal breaker, then you can, say goodbye in a very loving way to the person and take them off the dance card. And you may or may not replace them in your program of 3. Depending on how number 1 is doing. If number 1's doing phenomenally and things are getting better and better and better, that is, he's bringing you into his life, he's including you, he's introduced you to his children, his parents, his family, his friends, he's saying the L word, he's talking, exclusivity, mentioning the future, and you're feeling very good about it. It could be that you're just evolving into that one person. Sometimes you just have to work a different program of 3 over and over for a bit, so the 3 guys change.
Yes.
Because not one of them really rises to a true number 1 out of the 3.
This is why,
but eventually.
Yeah, this is why dating is fun. This is why dating is fun, right? Because when you're in that right mindset, right, and we'll talk about self-esteem and self-love. When you're in that right mindset, then it is, right? There's 3 guys and they're all pursuing you and they're treating you well, and you're in that goddessy, whatever word you want to use, position of getting to choose who your guy is, which I love.
Yeah, I call it the diamond self, the diamond self position. And there's nothing that better for your self-esteem than to work this kind of a program. It's just great, really, really, you're setting yourself up as the bachelorette. It's like the bachelorette on that show.
Yes. When I was dating, right, and I never will forget. I had this one weekend where I had these 2 guys, and I just kind of met Jeremy, and I literally said to my girlfriend, I'm like, literally, I feel like I'm on The Bachelorette. I'm choosing who I'm going to give my rose to. These guys plan these amazing dates, and I had. And up until that point, in my evolution, I was happy one guy called me after we slept together,
Exactly,
because I didn't have that diamond self established yet. So,
yes.
Ladies, if anyone can do it, if I can do it, you can do it. Okay, so tell us I want to hear this because I think this is a huge thing. 5 ways to heal heartbreak. I think that women are, first of all, so afraid to let go of Crumb's guy because they're afraid they're not going to have chemistry, right? Or that they won't be able to get over it. So what are the 5 ways to pick yourself up, and move it on out into creating the relationship that you want?
Absolutely. There's nothing worse than heartbreak. It's the worst pain in the world, as we all know personally. So number 1 is that research is very clear that you can actually produce natural opioids in the brain that help soothe that horrible pain. These are natural brain biochemicals that are like opioids. And you know how that's done? That's done by actually going to a loving friend and crying and telling your story. In other words, being with a loving friend. We all tend to isolate when we're hurt. We tend to isolate. We're alone at home. We're watching, sad romantic movies. We're eating ice cream, right? You do not want to isolate. Isolation, you have to avoid isolation. So you make a beeline for loving, caring friends. You cry your heart out. You tell them what happened. Number two, any kind of spiritual practice like meditation can be extremely helpful. So you hit, a yoga class and you do whatever kind of meditative process they have, or some other practice that you yourself know, and very, very important. Prayer can be very, very good too, very soothing, very, very soothing. The other thing is to be active. We tend to also be passive. So if you can get to the gym, even just for 5 minutes, right, you will get endorphins and you'll feel better because of the endorphins, these feel-good chemicals. And last, I would say, is make sure your calendar is full. In other words, have something scheduled every day so you don't isolate. So on, Tuesday night, you're going to dinner with a friend. Wednesday night, you're going to take in a movie with your brother. The next night, you're going to a friend's, party.
I think all that's so important because one thing that you're saying here is that you're being intentional, right? So
Yeah.
you're doing self-care.
Yeah. It's very important. It's very, very important to come through for yourself at the time, even though you may feel like you hate yourself. You may be all obsessed about what you said or didn't say or how you caused this thing to happen. Our minds are so mean, and they're the most mean when we're in heartbreak. I mean, it's really horrible. And so you want to, really pull yourself away from that black hole and get out.
Yeah, be around people who say you're the bomb, diddybomb.com, that are going to support you, love on you, be there for you.
Exactly.
And have healthy distractions, like funny movies. Okay, so what are 3 things that one of our listeners could do today, like literally today, to increase their chance of finding a great relationship?
Wonderful question. Number one, get out socially, especially to interesting places that you really enjoy, let's say a craft fair or, some kind of dance class or something like that. And an activity, make it an activity that has men in it, right?
That would be helpful.
Yes. So let's perhaps be wine tasting or sports, kind of anything kind of having to do with sports, something to do with investing. But that's fun for you, really fun for you. Go to something that might be fun for you that has men in it. That's number one. Number two, smile and say hello to every guy you see. I don't care how old they are, how ugly they are. I don't care whether they're married or not married.
Right.
But smile and say hello, because even if they're married, they may know somebody very, very interesting.
Absolutely. I call this putting your cab light on.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to reach out and be the change you want to be in the world. You're going to be loving and warm. You want someone to be loving and warm towards you, right?
Absolutely. So I was just thinking, like, what's the new analogy for a cab light? Is it like download your Uber app? I don't know. Okay. So smile.
Request your ride.
Exactly. Request your ride. Give yourself a lift. There you go. Okay. So smile, go out, go to places where you can meet men. I knit. That's my hobby. Like I hear there's single women in there all the time. They spend hours in there and they're talking about how there's no men. I'm like, there's definitely no men in the knit shop. So go do things where there are men. And what's the third one? What's the third thing?
Well, the third one, actually, it has to do with the gift that I'm going to offer to your listeners because, get yourself somebody to mentor you, and now sometimes you can find somebody in your actual network who can mentor you, who really knows about love. Let's say it's a, aunt who's very happily married, or, it's the informal matchmaker who lives down the hall. Go find a mentor to act natural, to make it funny.
Right. The whole thing.
the whole thing. And I was not trained as an, for that kind of thing. And so I had one of my amazing love mentor coaches train me in the back, in terms of my diamond self-identity, and went out there, and man, it was perfection. It was incredible. I mean, I fell to my knees weeping at the end. I was so grateful. I was really, really grateful. And all you need to do is go to lovein90days.com. That's lovein90days.com. Click on the coaching. It'll knock your socks off.
I love that. And you guys can even spell my name any way you want. I'll let you do that. Awesome. Well, Dr. Diana, you're a hoot. If I ever get down to Florida, we're going to go have coffee, at least have coffee.
I love it. Yes.
Or maybe we'll have a kale smoothie together. That would be that would be better. Yes. I'd love to have a second date with you and have a kale smoothie. So much fun to have you in the dating den. Ladies, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And you know what? There's one thing that you know. Don't forget to date with dignity. We'll see you next time in the dating den. Bye, ladies.
Bye-bye.